1860. Lincoln believed otherwise, and in the newly unearthed handwritten letter emphatically so declared. Employing frank language to the man who came close to sharing the spotlight with him in New York, Lincoln insisted Republicans ought to try attracting Democrats to their ranks by emphasizing irrelevancies like tariff, extravagances, live oak contracts, and the like, the very old issues upon which the Whig Party was beat out of existence. The issue of slavery, Lincoln argued, not only offered moral but political resonance. What brought these Democrats with us? The slavery issue. Drop that issue and they have no motive to remain, and will not remain with us. It is idiotic to think otherwise. Do you understand me as saying Illinois must have an extreme anti-slavery candidate? I do not so mean. We must have, though, a man who recognizes that slavery issue as being the living issue of the day, who does not hesitate to declare slavery a wrong, nor to deal with it as such, who believes in the power and duty of Congress to prevent the spread of it. That we now have a letter in which Lincoln used the word idiotic for the first and only time to warn against abandoning anti-slavery ideals sheds dramatic new light on his views on the eve of his New York trip. In a way, it is too bad that Lincoln did not speak so forthrightly there. His carefully modulated Cooper Union address instead encouraged generations of observers to conclude that it showed no real anti-slavery zeal, although this book contends otherwise. The newly discovered Corwin letter makes clearer what Lincoln had in mind when he wrote his first speech for the East, the twin goals of placing slavery on the course of ultimate extinction and of improving his party's, and his own, prospects in the 1860 presidential campaign. Another issue, the controversy that erupted in 1860 over Lincoln's Cooper Union honorarium, continues to elicit interest, perhaps because modern politicians so often earn enormous fees for their speeches, a practice that arouses as much debate now as it did then. A number of readers wrote to inquire precisely what his $200 payment was really worth back in 1860. Actually, the precise value of Lincoln's honorarium remains open to interpretation. According to Inflation Watch, a much-consulted Internet website, the $200 New York fee would be equal to some $4,000 today, a sum far less than senators and governors earn nowadays for Rotary Club talks. But using other formulas that also take into account stock market inflation, the $200 of 1860 might be worth tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 21st century. That makes it easier to understand why the honorarium became a political issue. The last word on Lincoln's true value, however, properly belongs to one of those who paid for him to speak. And as co-host James A. Briggs wrote in the letter that accompanied his fee for lecturing at Cooper Union, "Enclosed, please find check for $200. I would that it were $200,000, for you are worthy of it. You hit the nail on the head here, and long, very long will your speech be remembered in this city. It did great good. It was so weaved and linked with truth that it convinced men." Yet it apparently convinced more men in Manhattan than in Brooklyn, the place Lincoln expected to deliver it, reminding us how fortunate he was that his appearance was moved across the East River. On the day he was to appear at Cooper Union, in fact, the Brooklyn Daily Eagle lashed out with a querulous item unknown and unpublished since, belittling the Republican Party's recent and popular lecture series. Under the guise of literary entertainments, such men as G.W. Curtis, Wendell Phillips, and others have in our lecture rooms preached the doctrines of New York Senator William H. Seward and anti-slavery chronicler of the South Hinton, Helper. Many who habitually attend lectures are generally attracted more by the desire to see some celebrity than by the subject of his discourse, and many go to see Phillips, Harrison, and Cassius M. Clay out of mere curiosity to see the men, as they would as soon go to see Barnum's Mermaid.